So the next thing I want to do is I want to show you, review some of the things you should have learned in the data camp, and that's just how to use the tidyverse verbs, select, filter, mutate, and this will be part of your homework assignment as well. And you can use this file to practice if you'd like, and I'll give you the solution. So the first part here is let's just use some basic like select manipulations. And so we're going to be using that flights data. And so one thing you can do is you can go select, and if you just start out like that with and not a data set, you've got to give it the data set. So flights, and in this case we want to select all the columns that contain the word DEP or have the letters DEP in their column name. And one way to check out the column names is if you type in names, flights, it'll give you all the column names. So you can see that we should be selecting all those, and that looks like all of them right now. So what we want to do is leverage this tidyverse function called contains. So we want any column that contains the letters DEP. And it doesn't have to be at the beginning. And so now when I hit enter, you can see it brings back those three columns. The other way to do it is with pipes. And so with pipes, you can actually take the data set and then Control-Shift-M creates the pipe for you. And you can go select contains DEP. Control-Enter runs it down there. So let's just try another one here. In this one, first let's show you how to assign this. So if we wanted to assign it called flights DEP, Alt minus gives us the assignment operator. Otherwise, you'd have to type in less than dash, but Alt minus takes care of that. And then essentially it's just taking one of these that we have up here and we're just going to assign it. And that's really important to understand because if I just run this up here and then I take a look at my flights data set, you'll see my flights data set is unmodified. It contains more than those three columns. Whereas if I assign it to something and then I look at flights DEP, you'll see it contains three columns. So let's skip that one. Well, actually, we'll show you this. So if you wanted to just select certain columns based on their index number, we just happen to know based on this that there are, well, we'd have to count them. Right there, we see there's 19 columns. And if we wanted to select just the last 5 columns, we could go 19 minus 5, but then we got to include it, would be 15 to 19. So 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, that's 5. And then we can show the last 5 columns. And this would be the same thing. If we did flights duration, assignment, and then we could copy that, and then that way, notice also, when I do this in my environment, when I hit Control Enter, look up here in the upper right, I hit Control Enter, and now you can see it's added flight duration in there, and then I can look at it, and I can see those last 5 columns, whereas my flight depth contains those 3 columns that contain depth. So that's the select function, and remember that select, we'll do this, start with the select function. Select extracts columns. So if you're used to SQL, select works just like SQL select. It extracts out columns. The next one is we want to cover filter. And filter extracts rows. So filter is a way for us to select specific rows. And from here on out, I'm going to use the pipe method. instead of providing the first argument as the data frame. So it says make sure only flights with arrival delay bigger or equal to 30 minutes are available. So we'd start out by saying flights, pipe, then we're going to filter, and then let's just start typing arrival. Well, there's arrival time. We need to go in and find out what our arrival delay is called. So let's see if we can find it here. Arrival time, arrival delay right there. So we can start typing that, ARR_delay. I hit enter to complete the suggestion, and I only want it to be greater than or equal to 30. Control enter. And then you can see that we have 52,802, whereas before we had over 300,000 rows. So all of these we should be able to check. Here's something that you could do. Let's go ahead and store this in temp. And so one thing you can do is if we just store that in temp, we can go T and then $ gets us our columns. And if I said that is greater than, let's just double check this. That is greater than equal to 30. It's going to return this big, long Boolean array. Well, what I can do is I can sum across that. If I sum that, then every time that that condition held should be converted to a 1. And if I sum across all those ones, I get 52,802. So one thing I could do is I could say, is that equal to the number of rows in T? And yes, it is. So I know that all those cases, arrival time is greater than or equal to 30 minutes. Okay, so let's do the next one. Filter out. Make sure only the flights with arrival time before 11 a.m. or with scheduled arrival time after 10 a.m. are available. So let's try that. We've got two conditions here. We got flights, pipe, then we're going to say filter, and our arrival time has to be less than 1100. And we want to make sure we say or here, and that's our or symbol. Scheduled arrival time is after 10 a.m. And that's how we do that. Now, if this was and, we could replace it like that. And select, I believe, works this way. Filter works this way. We could also, when we want to do and, we can do just a comma. And that should give us, so see, that gives us 34,279. That should give us the same thing as that and 34,279. But the original question was or, and that gives us more, over 300,000. So let's do this last one here. Make sure only the flights to O'Hare, which that's the value that we want to check, and on the 23rd day of the month are available. So we go flights, filter, now O'Hare. This is flights to O'Hare, and there's a destination column in here somewhere, so we're going to go dest right there. Take hints. The purple ones are column names. The blue ones tend to be functions. And so we're going to say dest equals equals. If you get one equals R prompts you that that's probably not what you want to do. And then and the day is the 23rd day of the month. And so there we have that. Let's see. Unexpected equals. Oh, see, this is what I did. I just did that, so I forgot an equals. Because that's an assignment operator. That's a logical test. And I do that all the time, and it always gets me. So learn from my mistakes. So that's filter. Now, the next one we want to do is if we want to sort, and sort's pretty easy. I'll just show you both ways. So let's say we want to sort based on the arrival time in increasing order. So we'll do flights, arrange. So it's not called sort, it's called arrange. And we want arrival time. Control Enter. You can see it starts at, where's our arrival time? Right there, starting at 1. If we wanted to actually see the end of that, we could put it through tail. And we could see arrival time. There's a bunch of NAs there, so that doesn't really help. I was hoping to be able to see later in the day. If we want to go the other way, if we want to sort decreasing, then it's really just a matter of doing this. So instead of doing it like that, inside this arrange, we do DESC, which stands for descending. And now when we see it, that's what we're looking for, 2400 hours. So arrange is easy to work with. That's just sorting. The next one is mutate. And mutate is all about adding columns. We should actually put adding and updating columns. So you might think of, in other pieces of software, it's called calculated fields. So we'll actually generate a new column using data from existing columns. So let's show you how to do this. So using the flights data frame columns, compute a variable called delay time. This variable is the result of the difference between the arrival time and the scheduled arrival time. So this is how we do that. We would say flights mutate, and then we have to give it the name of the new column that we want. And we're going to call it delay time. So see, there's our assignment. We're going to say equals, single equals, and it's going to be the difference between our arrival time minus our scheduled arrival time. And now if I hit Control Enter, because it's a tibble, we're not going to be able to see it, but you can see it stuck it in there. If I wanted to actually check it out, let's go ahead and select those columns. So we're going to take arrival time, we're going to take scheduled arrival time, and then we're going to take delay time. Now I can take a look at that, and then it doesn't get pushed off to the right. So you can see it seems to be working. 830 minus 819 is 11. So that's that. Let's do one more. The other thing to remember, though, is that it does not modify flights because I didn't use the assignment operator. So if I go look at flights, you'll see that there's no delay time at the end here. In order to do that, we'd have to do flights and then assignment operator. We're not going to do that right now. So if we truly wanted to add it, we'd have to do the assignment operator. So this next one, we're going to compute flight time, and flight time is just going to be the result of the sum between the departure delay and the air time. Let's see, so we'll go flights. So I guess we could reword this a little different. So we just want the total flight time, and so we're going to call it flight time is equal to the departure delay. So any delay we have, we're going to include in that flight time, plus the air time. So once again, if I do that, you'll see it shows up. But if I really wanted to take a look at it, I'd select it out of there. This time we'll just select airtime. And so that would be our total flight time from the time passengers. Perhaps, I don't know if that means that when passengers get on to when they actually land. So that is mutate. The next chunk is we want to show you how to use summarize and group by. So when you use summarize, you don't always have to use group by, but most of the time you do. So summarize is different from mutate in that mutate kind of goes row by row, but summarize creates groups for us because when we use it with group by. So let's just jump right into this first one. Using the flights data frame, report how many flights are completed at each destination. So this is where you need to take some cues from the question we're trying to answer. And this each destination implies that we want a list of destinations and then a count, how many implies counts, next to each of those destinations. So we're going to break it up into those two steps. So we're going to go flights, and you'll see this syntax a lot like this. I'm going to hit enter just for better readability. And then we want to go group by, and we're going to group them by destination, then pipe again, and then we're going to summarize. All you people on the other side of the world will want to use RISE, but I am going to use the American way, IZE. And then we're going to basically just say, we're going to create the column called flight number, and we're just going to use this function called AND, which counts them. And so now when I hit enter, you'll see it takes every airport destination and it tells me how many flights arrived at that destination. So pretty easy. The next one says, rearrange the above results by organizing your data from the destination that has the longest number of flights to the one that has the smallest number of flights. So this one ought to be not the longest, the largest number of flights. So we're essentially just going to take this and we're just going to arrange. We're going to go descending, and we're going to basically do it descending order by the number of flights. So I'm going to go flight number, and now you can actually see it sorts them. Let's go ahead and do just one more here. Let's say we want to know what's the average. Let's see. Let's make sure we grab the right one. Names, flights, flight, carrier, airtime. Yeah, let's just go airtime. So let's say, what's the average airtime coming out of each airport? So let's just make sure we can answer that. So coming out, arrival time, destination. We had a destination, and we had a arrival. Where's our arrival? Okay, let's just do destination. I'm missing it. I'm sure we have our arrival here, but let's just do going into. So then in that case, we'd go flights, group by destination, and then we're going to summarize Oh, there's that S again. Feel free to use the S if you want. We're going to say average airtime. And in that case, we're going to take the mean of airtime. And now when we take a look at it, you'll see we'll have a bunch of NAs because some of those flights going into those airports, if there's one NA, then it creates it. The answer to the mean of something with an NA is an NA. And so that's not very helpful, but we could say, let's go ahead and arrange it. By average airtime descending, and then we get a feel for, we can see most of these have NAs, and then we'd have to clean that up. But we could be like, is that Anchorage? That makes sense because Anchorage is kind of like way up there in Alaska. All right, so let's quickly, well, we're going to pause there and create another segment here, so we'll be back soon.